Hi, I'm Tony. How you doing? Well, to me, it's just another medium to act. To me, acting is acting is acting. What you do inside is the same, and acting is all about what. Unlike what most people think acting is about presenting, it really is about feeling and then letting that out. So to me, voice acting is just another way of doing that. So the difference being on film, it's all about the eyes. On stage, it's big and body, but here we just have our voice. So there's different techniques you use to communicate emotion. So to me, voice acting is just a way to be able to act in characters that I wouldn't normally be able to do, because I can't play a 17-year-old person on camera anymore, but I can play one as my voice. It's a mix-up for me, because it's usually my firsts. So Rick Hunter will always be, in my heart. He was my first series. I think the character probably closest to me personally in terms of what he's like and his point of view as opposed to mine. And that'll always be endearing to me, and the people that make that show, I will do anything for, because they started a career that I've loved. In terms of just sheer fun, Lupin III, because it was just fun. He's silly, he's fun. It's the first comic lead I'd ever played, and the people, Richard Epcar, who directed it and did a lot of, helped make it funny, kept the session so much fun, and I adore all the people I was working with. So that was really out of sheer fun, and out of challenge, it's got to be Harry Van Gungrave. He's a gangster, but you need to like him, and so he's likable, yet he's a killer, and he has a complete personality breakdown in the middle of the series, and it's really hard to do. It was really challenging. It tapped everything I had as an actor at that time, and therefore was probably the most satisfying of all the roles I played. I started out as a voice actor, and things were not going well. I was trying to do film, I was trying to do television. I think I auditioned for Laverne and Shirley like 5 times. They promised, oh, we're going to get you on the show, and I never got on the show. I auditioned for major movies, I auditioned for a lot, but I just wasn't breaking through. And so I started voice acting. Right about that time, I'd given up. I literally was quitting the business. I took a job. A friend of mine was putting a radio station on the air about 150 miles north of Los Angeles. I took the job as a sales guy, just to get, I had a second child coming. I had to be responsible. And so I left the business for a while, but at that time there was also a need for ADR writers, people to adapt. It was starting to grow. And so I got a chance to try that out. It turned out I had a knack for it. So that brought me back to LA a few years later as a story supervisor for Saban, which led to me becoming an associate producer, because I had been an associate producer at the TV station I'd worked at. That led me to producing, which led me to directing. It kind of went the wrong way. But somebody called in sick one day, and I got a chance to go in and direct, and I liked it, and they liked what I did, so I got to keep doing it. Almost everything is different, except the acting. So the only thing that's the same. It's a different, it also depends on what kind of video game you're talking about, but anime is all about depth. It's all about the depth of character. So when I'm directing an actor in anime, I'm talking to them about how they feel, about the reasons they feel that way, about how that emotion works into the overall story. And we spend a lot of time on that. So we move, at a particular pace. Video games are really about the game. Actors, I think, being one, I think I can say this, in a video game, we tend to be the window dressing. We're another layer of skin, another dimension to make the game more broad and more lifelike. So it's not as important to be deep, unless you're doing like a Japanese RPG game or something like that, or a visual novel, then it's the same as anime. But by and large, it's about presenting little moments. So we move much faster because we don't have to worry about depth. And it's almost twice as fast we move in the studio on video games. And the actor has no context as they do in anime. We have the video, you can see, you have the full script. By and large, when the actor's in there doing the line, they only have their dialogue. So it's a lot more dependent upon me as a director, and I usually have a producer and a writer in the room with me to give the actor context so they know how to read the line. But by and large, it's churn and burn and get it done. And it's a lot of fun, but it's really challenging. I'll give you least favorite. my favorite, hands down, and I'm talking about, I've done movies, I've done feature film, live action, kids stuff, not kids stuff. Hands down, my favorite project I've ever worked on in my entire career was Fate Zero. It was brilliantly written in Japan, and I spent much of my time trying not to screw it up. And I was given an A-list cast who did an amazing job. And I mean, literally, we're weeping in the studios, we're recording this stuff because they were so good and the story was so good. The hands down, that was it. Least favorite was a show called New Getter Robo. And mostly it's my least favorite because I never really got the show. I know it felt like kind of a screaming mech show, like they are. And that's how I directed it, and the producers never liked what I did. And you know, it's not their fault. I just didn't get it, and didn't really care for the show as a result. So they don't give me mech shows anymore. And it's hard to pin down. I'm in the studio every day, so we have experiences every single day. Nothing particularly stands out except for working with certain people. Working with people like Crispin Freeman and Steve Bloom, who are so good at their craft that we have time to play. So we play a little bit, and it gets a little more fun. And their ad-libs are unbelievable, so we keep those. Most of them we can't broadcast in public. But doing those kind of things. I do remember walking into a session, a Power Ranger ADR session. I was co-producer and head writer of the first 3 seasons of Rangers, the Power Rangers. And I had been directing ADR, but I had somebody else step in because I had more duties to do. And I walked in, and just in time to see everybody didn't have their shirts on. I mean, it was really weird. It's like, what's going on? Said, we're doing nude dubbing. That's what the guy who was directing says. Well, they weren't nude. They had their pants on, but over the window, all you could see was the top. And there was a woman in there who said, oh, nude dubbing? And she turned around. Yeah, it was like, okay, this is fun. This is what happens on kids' shows.
Speaking of Power Rangers, when you were working on it, did you ever think it was going to end up being the mega popular, mega franchise that it turned out to be here in the West?
No. In fact, the editor I work with, because I had to pull all the footage before we started writing. Since I was a head writer, I had to get the footage ready. I was working with an editor extracting the footage from the Japanese show we were going to use, and he literally bet me. He says, if I can see this show on Fox Kids next September, I will kiss your rear in public. And the morning it premiered, the phone rang. Where and when? None of us thought it was going to be that big a deal. I had an inkling a couple of months before we premiered. We'd finished the first couple of episodes, and there was a show and tell at my daughter's elementary school, and so they wanted me to talk about how TV shows are made. So I brought in the first episode. Nobody had seen it, and I played it for them. And the reaction those kids had kind of told me, maybe we're onto something here. Interesting story, the night before we premiered, I was in a meeting with Chaim Saban, who owned the company. And he was, first time in my life, only time in my life I've ever seen him nervous. He's an A plus personality, confident, but he was nervous. And he was going, you know what, Tony, if we pull this off, it's going to be the miracle of the century. And we both came down to the conclusion after that meeting that we're going to probably premiere fairly well, because we had a lot of hype. We should stay number 1, number 2, kind of hang out at number 2 most of the time, and probably get about 3 years out of this show. That's what we thought if we were lucky. And you know what happened? It just blew up. Took us all by surprise. Up until recently, I had a medical issue, so I can't do this anymore, but I used to scuba dive. I love to scuba dive. I just love it under the water. I can't do it anymore because of some physical issues that I came up with. Damn aging. That's it. I like to read. I like to hang out with my family. I like theme parks. Disneyland. I live real close to Disneyland, so it's I go there when I can. It's just normal stuff, you know. That I'm essentially a shy person. Most people don't expect actors to be shy, but most of us are. Acting and doing stuff like this is kind of, I think, a coping mechanism we develop really young in order to be able to get out of our shell and be public. And so if I can be in front of 5,000 people and I'm comfortable and I can play and be fun and make people laugh and things like that. I mean, I'm not a comedian, but you know what I mean. You put me in a party with 25 people I don't know, I am a wallflower. You know. So I think that's probably the most thing. And the other thing is if all of this had been around when I was this age, this would have been my thing. It would have been. I've always felt like these were my people, even though none of this was around when I was a kid. So I feel really comfy. Get trained. I mean, acting is, people think voice acting is about doing funny voices. But if you look at all the guests you meet at the conventions and stuff, most of us don't do funny voices. We play serious characters, we play human characters. There's a few specialists, but so what's important is not the voice. Mm-hmm. It's the ability to act and to convey emotion in a way that the audience will grab it and feel it too. So learn to act, take acting classes. Get on the stage, learn to perform. Those are the most important things a young actor can do. One of the things I do, talking about nervousness, one of the things that I do recommend you do is something that I did. At my very first convention I ever went to, I had no idea. The anime conventions weren't what they are now. They were a little more like the stereotype of the kid in the basement who doesn't have friends. So it was a little bit like way, and this was a Robotech / Star Trek convention, which I was thrilled about because I'm a Trekkie. And I was going to walk into the room. They told me, okay, walk into the room. I was expecting 20 or 30 kids because Robotech was just on the afternoon on TV. And they said, walk in, the stage is to your right, do your thing, and then security will escort you out the front door. Why do I need security? Well, when I walked in, it wasn't 30 kids, there was like 400 screaming college students, completely losing their minds. And I got stage fright. I was struck. I realized at that point that, yeah, I'm comfortable in front of 3,000 people when I have a script, but I have to be myself now for an hour and entertain these people. And that was tough. It was really frightening. I did it because I'm a professional. But so what I did the next time, I swore that wouldn't happen to me again, is I chose to create a character, a persona that was me, but the sides of me that I want people to see. And that it gave me just enough separation from me and what I was playing to not have the nerves get a hold of me. And it was very effective, and I started using that in auditions. And it was very, because I used to get nervous at auditions. And now I don't get nervous anymore, which is cool. But I suggest that to people when they're auditioning. If they have a lot of problems with nerves, see if you can't create a character that you can play that's you. And just play it real. It's kind of like LARPing, but for real.
Hi, this is Tony, voice of Rick Hunter, and I just want to say I love Vancouver, I love the fans up here, I love British Columbia, and I'm so happy you guys all had me out. Thanks, and have you seen Inmate?